So this is my makeup for recap 3, which is basically on 13, 14, and 16 of the chapters. To start off with chapter 13, the specific purpose statement is my first term. So it's basically a complete statement that summarizes the goal of my speech and relates to the audience. So when, for example, I have a small group that I teach on Sundays for 8th grade boys, and I never actually, when I would have a specific topic I would talk to the boys about, I never really had a specific statement to summarize what I was going to say. That specific purpose statement is basically specifying the purpose of what I'm going to say in one sentence, summarizing it in that one sentence. I never actually knew the value of it until I actually did my speeches, um, as well as my informative speech, using that one statement right in the beginning, basically like your thesis statement in your speech, to hook in your audience, because it's something that what I did for my informative speech for college students paying off their student loans. Um, what I was trying to do is I was trying to, because I'm a college student myself. I wanted to hook into these other college students and help them understand, because they're all college students, that it's okay to have student loans. And I wanted to relate to them, and I told them in that one statement, I'm going to give you 5 tips, or I'm sorry, 3 tips on how to repay back your student loans after you or before you graduate. And I used that one specific statement to hook them in, because I knew that having that one statement will hook them in right away, and they would actually understand because it relates to them. So what I did before previously, I never actually used that one statement. Like in high school, when I had speeches, I never used a statement to relate to the audience at all. But what I learned in the book and what I learned in the statement is it's very valuable to do that, because it hooks into other people and they'll listen to you more. So that's what I did in my speech, and that's what I'm going to do forward. That's what I've done in my persuasive speech, and that's what I'm going to keep doing with my further on with my other speeches in the future. So to basically go to chapter 13, having a this captive audience. Having a captive audience is basically an audience that doesn't really feel, or is not really wanting to be there. They're really just kind of forced to be there. Maybe some of the audience wants to be there, but really coming down to the fact of that term is people are just forced to be listening to me, listening to the speaker. So what I have with my 8th grade students on Sundays is they really want to be there. Their parents are forcing them to be there, so they're my captive audience. I know what I used to do is I never used to interact with them. I never asked them any questions. I would just speak on to whatever the pastor gave me, and I would just say what I have to say. They would leave, I would leave, and that's it. But what I realize now is it's very good to captivate your audience. It's very good to make them feel intrigued, ask them questions that relates to what I have to say. That asking if maybe how their week is going, what they're doing next week, what they're going through in school, to try to relate to what I have to say in their lives. Just being more interactive with them, I feel like that'll be a lot better. And yeah, since I know that knowledge now, that's what I'm going to do. Starting this Sunday is asking more questions to them, because I feel it's very valuable, that new knowledge that I learned. So to end off everything, chapter 14, it's getting ways to listen to your having your listeners have attention to you, asking the real question, um, basically asking questions in the beginning of your speech to your audience, or even during your speech, relating or question relating to what I have to say. For example, I used well, or when I used to do speeches in high school, I never did that before. But when I learned in this term, that it's very valuable to do that. And I've done that with my informative speech and with my persuasive speech. I use speeches that relate to college students, because I was speaking to a college student surrounding, and I knew that saying those speeches was beneficial, because they're going through that right now. And listening to that is maybe what they really need in a specific point in time. So since I learned that statement, I've actually applied it during my informative and persuasive speeches because I knew it was very beneficial for them as college students to listen to these college student tips. So that basically summarizes my recap 3. I'll be sending my other recaps as well through email.